Right, so here we go. I'm going to turn the camera around and turn onto the C22 and see what we're going to paint. Okay, glass, blue glass and clear glass, and with some nice pista beds that we got up from the laneway. Okay, so I'm going to start with a wash, but today I'm just going to sort of experiment a bit, because this is what painting should be about, is experimentation, especially this kind of thing, studies and all. So I'm going to actually just simply put a different wash on underneath. So I'm just going to use the permanent rose to give it a kind of a pink undertone to the whole thing, which is kind of almost the kind of complementary of what's going on here. There's a lot of blue. I mean, there's all that red over there, but most of it is this kind of blue. This is blue. The background is a bluey grey. So we'll see what happens with a kind of a pink undertone. Right. So simply, as it's a wash, we'll get some turpentine and the usual palette and the usual tools that we use. Just adjust that. So some permanent rose. Kind of is the consistency of, I don't know, milk, I suppose. Remember when I used to do sort of airbrushing, sort of, I used to airbrush sort of scooter side panels and everything for my friends and everything like that. The consistency of the paint that you would use would be what do you call it? About the consistency of milk, I think. And I should add to that, don't imbibe it, because you'll poison yourself. Let's change the camera, C22. Right. And this could have been, you know, hot pink. As it is, it's a cool pink, because I'm just using permanent rose, and all the colors apart from burnt umber on my palette are cool. So if I added a little bit of cadmium yellow light to this, it would make it warm. That's how you make things warm in my palette. Different palettes respond in different ways. They have different approaches that you need to learn to use. My palette is a cold palette, and everything is warmed up by the addition of permanent rose and cadmium yellow. So there we have our toned canvas. All right. And now we're going to do our drawing. We can do the drawing once again in burnt umber, but to follow on from all of this, I'm going to do it in permanent rose, just so that you know, for experimentation's sake, and it might do something for the painting that, you know, we don't expect, like balls it up. Who knows? Probably not. I hope not. Right. So I'm going to measure now. Usual thing, measuring the entire composition, because we want to know how the whole thing will fit on this canvas. Okay, so I'll measure it from your point of view. Okay, so here we've got the width. Look at that. I think I'll do it to there rather than the tip of that jug, the little spout there. I think I'll do it to there because it's more solid. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it round and measure from the bottom. So really, it's just the flowers are the additional piece, which is what, about quarter? It's that plus a quarter again. Let's check it. Do the whole thing from the tips of the flower heads to about there. And the same thing, yeah, I'll do it there like that. Yeah, it kind of looks to be about a quarter. The width is 3/4 of its height. Okay. And the height, I want kind of a lot of the height. I want that to come up to there. Mind you, I usually exceed the drawing, don't I? So I don't want to go up too high there. And let's say it's here. What's 3/4 of that? Something like that. So if we know we put it in there like that. I have a tendency to exceed my drawing, and some people will have a tendency to go smaller than their drawing. You have to kind of factor that in. It's just one of those things that you learn about yourself when you're painting. I also have a tendency, I noticed in many paintings, that straight lines that are supposed to be vertical lean to the right. And I have to compensate for that all the time. I have to go back after looking at a painting, you know, one of these sort of larger paintings that I do, and check it to see whether I've done the same thing again. Because it only leans slightly to the right. So if I do a lamppost, it'll lean slightly to the right. But it doesn't lean dramatically to the right. If it leant dramatically, everything leant dramatically to the right, you could kind of incorporate that into your style, couldn't you? Everything sort of being sort of like that. But mine's only slightly, so it just looks like I've not managed to get it straight. If you can understand that load of gobbledygook, but I mean it's true. It's something to do with your eye, and also to do with being right-handed. So if you're left-handed, there's a possibility that everything will lean sort of left. There's a good friend of mine, who's a fantastic painter, an Englishman, and he he got diabetes, and he discovered it through his optician. And the optician said, "Well, you know, you've got to get this done. You've got to get your eyes lasered." He said, "There's nothing wrong with my eyes. You have 20/20 vision." And he said he went into the laser surgery with 20/20 vision and came out. He says that everyone at the periphery of his vision, everyone had heads like peanuts. It was good that he could laugh about it anyway. So let's check the center. Where's the center of this? Well, in fact, we'll put in a center. We'll put in a center here and a center here. This is not sort of geometry, so we're just sort of doing it by eye, because all this will be painted over anyway, won't it? So the center of top to bottom, let's have a look. If I do that, let's say underneath that handle of the jug might be the center. Not far, it's probably the top of the handle of the jug. God, even that looks wrong, in the center. So the jug handle kind of straddles the center line. Yeah, okay. And what's the center sort of laterally? Maybe it's that handle again. Let's do it from there. Yeah, it kind of looks like it, doesn't it? The jug, the edge of that jug there, and the edge of the handle seems to come to the center line. So that the dark blue bottle, or the large bottle behind, is just straddling the center line, but slightly to the right. Okay, so let's see how that works then. So we know that the that jug comes down to about here. The handle of the jug comes to there. From the cursory drawing first. Oh, we said that came up a bit further, didn't we? There. What I don't want to do is kind of take it up too high and then have no room for those flowers, but we'll adjust our drawing if that's the case. So this is the, what is it? I suppose it's an olive oil jug, isn't it? Effect from the taverna. Not by me, I might add. Okay, let's get in this. We said, oh look, that emanates from the top of the bottle about there. Bottle behind goes there like that. The curve starts around about there. Doop, doop. And the flowers are in a kind of a triangle, like that. Then that comes down to about there. We don't draw ellipses, you know, we don't draw sort of curves. We do straight lines. 1, 2. And you see the way that that bottle disappears behind this bottle. Okay. And we've got that to come down here like that. But even though that disappears behind that bottle, you still draw it in. You still kind of mark in how you think that that falls behind, even though I can't see it. It's got to be something like that, but it's best to put that in because they're only lines. And, you know, it's best that you know the way that form moves behind the one here. And there's another note about composition that I wanted to make, another little point. See, look, I've exceeded the drawing there, but it's okay. Let me have a look what's going on there. Is there somebody missing? Kieran's disappeared. Probably been called away to another meeting. Right. Okay, yes. So a note about composition, that when you are actually composing something, and it's a problem that you have every time you set something up, and you might set up your you know, your still life in front of you, and then you just do the painting, you do the entire painting, and then you hate the painting because it just looks stilted or, you know, unattractive somehow. And that's, I mean, this is one of those things that you've got to sort of live with, that you might sort of get the actual composition. It's not wrong, it's just not very nice. So you juxtapose things, the way that that comes across, that you allow things to cross other things in your painting. So that comes into the jug. It makes it more interesting. It's either that or you come away from it much further and you have it coming down, dropping away. In fact, that would be quite nice because I am not liking that now. And I think that I'd be better off pushing that away like that. To have those two things juxtaposing with each other, once they're crossing into each other, making a kind of a tension between those two. And then sort of, but by having that separated and slightly lower, I think, makes a more interesting composition. It's uneven, and the human eye seems to like uneven things a bit more than, you know, just, well, I mean, more than just regularity. So, you know, if you have a row of bottles, you put them in sort of 1, 2. You don't put the next one there, but you might put it there. It's just a little note on composition. So things affect, you know, the way your painting feels. So I'm going to move that. And I've actually changed the angle as well. So out comes the rag, the very important piece of equipment. Precision instrument. Okay. So you're looking for sort of a little bit of interest value, because God knows painting still lifes all the time, you know, if you just did still lifes all the time, it could get a bit tedious. There, and we'll let that bottle sort of carry the tension with the other one. And then the turn of the surface on which it's sitting, the foreground. Let's put in a horizon. You know, to keep that kind of tension thing going, I am going to just paint what you're seeing there rather than what I'm seeing. That's coming up there like that. And then, so is that. Wonky paintings, good idea. Get a bit wonk into your paintings. And don't try to be Rembrandt, whose wonk was probably more personality based than painting. You know, the composition of his paintings. I think maybe I'm wrong. I've been known to have been wrong before. And let's put that up there. So an idea of how the painting, the flowers are falling. They're quite regular, aren't they? Let's put that one up there a bit. My laneway is full of these things, and they're all sort of going to seed. So there's going to be a snowstorm of seeds right about now. I think that's our drawing there. Okay. Oh, shadows. So the shadow kind of comes across there like that. There's not much of a shadow there. Shadow's really under here. There's a kind of a shadow here, but that's actually being cast by my easel. Oh, and we've got that there, haven't we? The red part here, there. That's all red there. So that's almost up. You can just see those stems in there, but they're not really sort of strong enough for me to put in at the drawing stage. They can just be sort of added in afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to start with some darks. Remember, the darks are kind of like the bones of your painting. So I'm going to put those in first. I could start with the yellow of the flowers while I've got a clean brush. Maybe that's a good idea. I've got a clean brush. We're at the early stages of the painting, and I don't want my flowers to end up looking like mud. Okay, so I'm going to make up the flower color. Okay, so I'm going to take some cadmium yellow pale hue. I'm going to take a little bit of permanent rose and mix them up. Make sure I've got enough. There we are. Okay. Excuse me. Right, and now I need the shadow part of that. The shadow part of those flowers, you add a little bit of black. Okay, something like that. Maybe I'll add a little bit of yellow back into that. I went a bit overboard there, didn't I? Okay, and now I'm going to change cameras again, and we're going to fill in what we have here. There, there, there. Okay. Clean the brush. Down with my rag and a bit of terps. And we're going to put in the lit parts. And I just noticed that I'm just going to add a little bit of red into that. Into that shadow part here, just because you probably can't see the subtlety of it, on the screen. It's not as sensitive as we need it to be. There. Okay, I'm actually going to add on a little bit to that. I think the flowers should be bigger. Okay. And you notice I'm not painting in the direction of the flowers either. The petals. Okay, usual thing. So we've got our flowers in now. Now I'm going to put in the darks of that bottle. I'm just going to mix in a bit of blue and red, I think. Put in a little bit of oil into that. Yeah. Okay, something like that. And I'm going to add that in where I see it. Okay, it's in that part there, the handle there. Okay. Where else do I see it? Oh, under here. These are the kind of the darker parts of that that bottle. They're quite dark. In the handle there. So we're starting our mosaic, aren't we? Okay. Is it down here? That's quite light there. All right. Let us do a bit. Oh, I missed one, didn't I? That one down there comes in there. In the handle. Two. Okay. Let us do. I'm going to do the darker parts of this glass here. And you can see that, see here, there, look, see, that's kind of like the glass color. There's so much glass there. You're looking through quite a thickness of glass, and you can see the color of it, which is kind of a dark greeny gray. Okay. And I'm going to put some of those in because it'll help me sort of maintain my my position in this painting, you know, so I know where I am when I go to start painting other stuff. Right. I'm going to make up that green, and I'm going to make it actually from ivory black, white, and yellow. Let's see what I get. More yellow, more black. You know, you can get a perfectly good grass green from just using ivory black and cadmium yellow light. It's amazing. And a painter called Anders Zorn, you might have seen, there is a painting in the National Gallery, apparently would often use ivory black instead of blue, and let the painting sort of develop the way it would. You know, it wouldn't be a bright painting made of it, but it bloody works. He was a fantastic painter. All right, so I'm going to put these in where I see them. Down there like that. Little sort of indications just where I see them. This is about painting what you see and not what you know. Because when it kind of comes to glass, for example, you suddenly find out you don't know anything, and and you think, well, how the hell am I going to paint something that I can't see, it isn't there? And this is kind of how you do it there. All right, and there's some sort of dark parts in here. And then there are some lighter ones. There are lighter sort of greeny greys. Paler, I would say, would be more of an apt description of it. Let me put them in, and they're kind of around here. Once you've got those in, you've got the skeleton of your painting sort of done. It's usable now. You can go around and do other stuff and not worry that you're going to lose. There's hardly anything in that part. Little sort of touches, little mosaic tessellare putting in to make up the image. Okay, so we've got that in. Let us put in the foreground. Actually, no, let's do some of the nice blue for the bottle. Okay, it's lighter, so I'm going to get more blue, bit of white. And a bit of permanent rose, because that's a violet. It's a blue that's going towards violet up in that bottle. Okay. Change that thing. All right, here we go. So in here, that part there. It lightens as it comes down here as well. That's greenish down there. I'm going to leave that. Here as well. Here. That's different. Again, I'm not going to do that bit down there. What else have I got in here? That's dark, but it's not really what I want to do here. This bit down here is very bright. I'm going to try to do that with a little bit of white. Even though, in fact, I'm just noticing here that I cannot get that blue that's here with this paint. It's not up to the task. And this is another thing that you've got to accept when you when you start painting a lot, that the paint isn't up to the task that we're giving it. Everyone's palette will have a shortcoming somewhere. It'll be in the fact that you can't make a greeny blue because you've got a reddy blue, for example, ultramarine. If you've got ultramarine only on your palette and you want to make that into a greeny blue, you're going to end up with a kind of a muddy blue because it's already tending towards red and you're putting green into it, and that will tend towards making a kind of a brown. So you need another blue, a cobalt or a cerulean blue or a phthalo blue. These paints are all useful in their application, but what's a better way to approach it is to say, well, I'll just paint with what I have and accept what I get. It's a better way of thinking rather than going out and buying a grass green or a gold paint. I remember one of you, I think it was Jer, you asked about painting gold. I think it was you anyway. But and in fact, you just paint an impression of the gold. That's what I meant to say at the time. All you're doing is describing gold. It's not actually gold. And I'm going to do a video on gold, I think. So keep an eye out for that one, because it's an interesting question. And art shops are full of paints, aren't they? Absolutely full. And they'd love to sell you gold paints and all the blues that there are. And you buy a dioxazine purple, for example, and it's right up there in the price range, and you might use it once or twice, but you get fantastic purples, especially in painting flowers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful color. But you don't necessarily need it. You can always mix up your own. I'm going to paint that cap just so that I know where it is. It's bothering me that it's not done. Okay, I'm just going to mix up a little bit of blue and burnt umber and put it in there. So I'm perilously close to the edge of the canvas. But who cares? We've still got enough. You see, if that canvas was going to be framed, you're going to lose 6 millimeters here. That's another consideration about painting. But since it's a study, I'm not going to bloody change it. I'm going to paint this darker part down here, which you can't see as dark. I'm looking at the screen. It's slightly dark and it's slightly warm. I'm going to put a little bit of red into that and a slight touch of yellow, because it's not the same as the rest of it. It's very subtle. difference there. Okay, and that goes there like that. Where's my blue? Just going to move that up slightly. There. There, get a bit of length in that bottle. Now, the foreground. It's a greeny blue. Let's make the foreground. I'm going to take some blue, some cobalt blue. I'm going to get some white, put that in there. I know I'm making a lot of paint. That's why I'm grabbing up quite sort of large chunks of paint at the moment. If you're painting a subtle color, which doesn't appear very often, you do it very incrementally, very sort of little bit at a time. Okay, now I said it's a greeny blue, so I'm going to put a bit of yellow into that. The yellow. Lighten it a bit more white. Bit more white. It's still incremental, isn't it? Bit more white. Something more like that, a little bit more yellow. Okay. And then we've got the shadow version of that. I'm going to take a little touch of black, more blue. More blue. There, something around those lines there. I'm going to add a little bit of oil because I want it to move a little bit. And I'm going to paint in those shadowy parts. Okay. Oh, there's a message. What's that? I hope it's not from Joe. Please don't be from Joe, because that, oh, right, okay. It's not. Thanks be to God. I hope you can all still hear me. I'm not bloody talking to myself here. That's the trouble with this thing, isn't it? Okay, so I'm putting that in there. Joe is ringing me. Joe, you okay? Yeah. Camera. Oh, camera. Oh, good man. Thank you very much, Joe. My apologies, everyone. My apologies. Good old Joe caught me. I hope you caught me in time. I'm a daft bugger. Right, so let's put that shadow in there. Shadow comes across here like that. Shadow. Okay. Shadow comes all the way across there like that, because our light source is actually up there. It's actually, well, in fact, it's here, coming down exactly like that, coming down and forward. So it's throwing a shadow slightly forward. The travel of light is in that direction. Okay, so let's put that. Interesting experiment. This is shadowy down here. Put a bit more oil in. I'm trying to, hard to get that to move, isn't it? All the way across there like that. There's a bit of shadow there. There's a bit of shadow that comes around. That's an interesting bit of shadow. That interesting bit of shadow comes all the way through here. And this is the interesting thing about painting glass. You're painting, or clear glass, you're painting all the way through it. All the way through it, okay? And I can see that shadow. I'm going to make it slightly darker. A bit more blue, a bit more ivory black. There, comes across there like that. We're painting in the glass now, or through the glass. There, there, that's darker there. Okay. Okay, that's as much as I can see of that shadow part. Let me just put that in there. Okay. I'm not being heavy-handed with the actual coverage either, because I'm going to see what we can get aesthetically out of having a pink background. Paintings don't have to be obsessively complete, right? but you kind of do have to sort of do these things intentionally. Okay, so got that there. Let me just bring that down there. Oh yes, the lit part of the foreground is, put a bit of oil into it. Okay, so like there. Okay, lots of paint. I've got quite heavy coverage. I've got a lot of paint on the brush. There. That's kind of lit there. I'm going to. I'm also going to just going that way. It's much closer to the light. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into the background, or the foreground, sorry, here, because it is tending towards that. Yeah. It's a slightly greenish tinge to it. That's there. And here I can see it coming through the spout. See, this is where you've got to be a little bit careful, because you don't want to be obliterating all the work you've already done on that spout, you know, the drawing, any strokes you've put in. So just be a bit circumspect when you get to these areas here. I'm going to I can see through it's a lovely reflection of the foreground in the bottle there. Okay, I can see it in the handle. Okay, that was quite hard to do, to get such a delicate line out of that brush, because it's turning into a toilet brush anyway. If you can see, if I turn it side on, look at it, you can see it's starting to spread. All right, so we've got that there. We've got bits of reflection of this all the way up here. You can see them. Don't be overly descriptive. You just need to sort of show that you can see them. I'm going to do I'm going to do the background. The background is a grey. The background is a grey. Let's have a look. So let's say, well, it's definitely a bluey grey. So I'm mixing up blue and white. Yeah, for that background, I'm mixing up blue and white. Mix up a bit more. See how much white you need? Gosh, I'm starting to run out of white. Bit of oil, a bit more blue, and some ivory black. Let's see how that works. Definitely getting towards it there. And there's red in it as well. It's a slightly, it's a blue that's moving towards red on the color wheel. You know, I sent in that email to you, was it yesterday only, or the day before yesterday? Yesterday. In that sort of formatted one, you know, a request for questions. You know, just like that gold question about gold that I was asked the other week. And if you have questions like that, it doesn't matter how simple it is. I don't know what you don't know, and it'd be really helpful to get those questions, and then I could make a video. I'm going to turn into a YouTube superstar. Right, so a bit more red into that, I think. Okay, and I'm going to make the shadow version of it as well, which is dark, but with the addition of a little bit of ivory black and more blue. Okay. Okay, and in time-honored fashion, with an oil painting, start with the dark first. Okay. It goes down to there. I don't want to lose my drawing of that spout. Oh, Joe, I know why you're ringing. You can hang up. You can hang up, Joe. Yes. I apologize once again. I'm just kind of, I won't get the job at RTE. Now, here we go. We're going to fill in that area there. This is the dark part behind the composition, you know, in the background, okay? And then I'm going to do, well, I'm going to wipe my brush down. Always wiping the brush. And you always, you put your brush in there. This is kind of a flat, isn't it? It's a filbert, so it's flat and long. And you just take it and you pinch it and you do it like that. You don't stab your brush into the into whatever you're doing. Don't stab your brush into the terps. You always put it in. You put your brush into the terps or into your rag, and you try and keep the shape. Okay, pinch. Okay, and now the part in light. So here we go. I think that's too light. I think it's too light. I'm going to have to change that. Painting is all about making a mark and correcting it, but I don't want to do that whole thing and discover that I've been too light. Needs a bit of depth. Okay, so here goes. And I'm going to change that shadow part as well. Here we go. So see, I'm just cutting around those things prior to actually shaping them. When you have a large job like this, you know, sort of a large area to fill, you know, putting a little bit of of linseed oil into your paint helps. Okay, and now I can see that all in here as well, in the glass. We can see it through the glass, and you can see it down here as well, and we can see it in the spout. That'll help the spout to take shape. Mm-hmm. And that should have been darker. Let me do that. Okay. Push that in there. Okay, so that means I can do now any bits I've missed. Yes, sorry, I do beg your pardon. Bounce around and come to this part. There, I can see that foreground in here as well. And there. Okay. Let's do that red napkin. I'm going to clean the brush down, and I'm going to endanger the whole process by switching back to that camera again and await Joe's sort of irate phone call. I actually do need, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of paint. Just want to make sure that Sandra sent me something. Oh, I did, yeah, okay, that's good. Where is my yellow paint? I'm sorry, all the way over there. Sorry, just stretching over to reach some yellow paint. Cadmium yellow pale hue. Right, so I'm going to take some red. I'll put it here, okay? And some yellow, and mix those two up. And that will give us the warm, that deep, warm, rich red of that napkin. Okay. A bit more yellow into it there. And then there's the shadow part, because there's a shadow. I'm just going to add a little bit of ivory black into that to the shadow part sort of here. A little bit of ivory black. Maybe a little bit of touch of blue as well. I give it a little bit of oil, help it spread. Okay, and I'm going to put that shadow part in first. I mean, there's a there's a pattern on that napkin, but it's just absolutely unnecessary to put it in. Okay, so a bit of dark up there. Okay, and then you've got the lit parts. The red parts, I'm going to need a bit more oil. Okay, here. Come up there like that. Around there like that. I put quite a lot of oil in there because it wasn't moving around very easily. So, no. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of that dark part of the red as well. We can start sort of shaping those flower heads. Like that. Not painting petals. Okay. And we do the same thing on the other side, don't we? Same here. We can follow the direction that the petals are, but we're not going to start painting petals. This is the thing about oils. It's the beauty of them. It's this kind of thing. It's this is the kind of the oil painting equivalent of watercolors being, being very sort of washy and sort of, incomplete looking, and that's what we like about them. Okay, so we've got some really bright brights. I'm going to do a bit of the flowers now. Really bright brights. I'm going to take some pure cadmium red or cadmium yellow pale hue and a touch of white, really. That you've got to be very careful about white because it tends to make things, instead of making them brighter, it makes them paler. So just very judicious use of white in bright colors. Okay, so I'll put that in there like that, actually. Same way as I painted the other things. You don't go in the direction of the petals. Just put in little touches. An orangey part there. Now there's a dark in there. That's quite an interesting dark because it's not warm. It's just yellow and ivory black. Put that in there. And in there too. It's kind of, it's a mess of little shapes. Yeah, so let's not be too specific. Let's get that, that blue there. We'll also push that up into the petals like that. Okay, right. We've got a kind of a, the green of the stems coming down in through being mediated by that blue glass. So we're going to make, I've made a green out of, in fact, I used the green that I've used for the glass here, and I've put some blue into it. It was already there, you see, so I'm going to put that in there. We're going to describe, in cursory terms, the stems coming down there like that. And then as the stems come down, they go a bit sort of pale, in fact, because there's a reflection here. Okay. Now I'm going to put in that dark, there should be a dark blue. Just behind that handle and in between the handle. Pushing that up there like that. That's dark there. Dark. As that bottle goes through, it's refracted through the glass of the oil container, and that is reflecting that. Okay, so I'm going to use some of that. I'm going to mix it with a bit of the blue and put a bit of white into it. And that comes down the side of that glass there. That's just a reflection. It also comes in here. There's a nice light coming across here. Remember, mosaic, mosaic, mosaic. All that sort of below is being reflected in the glass here as well. We're putting it in where we see it. Okay, and that actually comes around there like that. Okay, where else do I see it? Definitely across the top of that spout. Put the dark there. It's in here. It's down here around the handle. I'm going to push that out a little bit. Do I have any darks on that spout there? Maybe just one there. One there. Okay, we've got that there. There's a light running along underneath that. Not sure what it is. I think it's where the glass turns around. It kind of comes in and then it just drops down there like that. I think that's what's going on there. There's some lights that I've missed down here. And these are not sort of super accurate strokes. I'm just laying down sort of dabs where I think I see something. You put it in. Okay, so let's deal with this now. Here, on that bottle, here it's reflecting something very red. So I'm going to put that in there, because I see it there. There's a kind of an ochre color over here. And in fact, the lid is a bit ochre as well. I'm not going to sort of dwell on that but it's warm, possibly reflecting the drape here. Let's put that in there. We can always cut into it with a dark later, like that. There's a lovely blue running down here, which is dark. Dark and vivid. Probably not vivid enough for the camera to pick it up, but check that. Square that off, actually. Square that off. We can shape that later. But that there is very red. That's it's kind of a dark violet here, because it's reflecting this part here. You've got to look out for those reflections. And it goes back there a bit as a red as well. And that's the same here. I'm going to put that in there. The side of that bottle and the neck of that bottle is reflecting the napkin. Put that in. Okay, let's just fill that in a little bit there. We need to shape those shoulders of that bottle. A little bit too wonky for my liking. There. And shape that dark that comes around on the right-hand shoulder. God. There. Can we put that there? Okay. Now there's a kind of a reflection that I hadn't noticed until right now that runs across here in that bottle. Don't know how that's how that works. How that came to be. This is another example of painting what you see and not what you know. Because you'd never think of putting in something like that. Okay. Bit of a dark there. Bit of a dark bluish there, which comes around into there. That's reflecting up there again. Then there's a green. There's a green areas in here. Put those in. Give the idea that there's sort of kind of, I don't know, I suppose it's there must have been a cap on it at one stage. Push that in there like that. I said I'd shape that, didn't I? Push that in. Try and make it correspond with the other shoulder. Okay. Let's, we don't want too much of that sort of going on there. That's coming off there. And shape that. Let's put a dark in underneath this here, because there is one, isn't there? What'll I do? I'll do it as a very dark, dark. Blue, black, burnt umber. Let's see what I get out of that there. There, okay. I've got an itchy ear. Oh, shit, my an itchy ear when I bloody put headphones in. Don't like to wear them too much. All right, there's some lights to put in. So lights down here, one there. We're not going to sort of dwell too much on that. There's a kind of a light in there. Dark, dark, restate that. Now, let's put in some highlights. Let's close that up for a second, sorry. Just, because up to now, we've really only been sort of doing blocking in. Just, all right. Highlights. So there's a really nice bright one along that, and I think that needs to go in. We need that to we need that to be there. Okay, so I've mixed up white, yellow, and a little bit of red, and I'm going to put that in. I loaded the brush. Okay, I'm going to put that in there like that. There's a less bright one that continues on along there. That should be worth putting in as well. Okay, let's shape that again. Shape it so that it corresponds. Okay. There's a nice bright in here. Okay. Okay. Right, so more highlights. Let's put in the cool ones first. So to make cool highlights, we'd make them a slightly, what do you call it, violet color. So I'm going to get some white. My camera's sort of shifting off as the time goes on there. Right, so we're going to get some white, put it to a clean part of the palette, get a little bit of blue, and a tiny, tiny touch of red. And that will give us kind of daylight, sort of a daylight violet coming in from the windows, coming in from the cold strip lights I have in here. So it'll do for those. Let's change so it's really very bright, but it's got a little bit of blue and a little bit of permanent rose in it. I'm going to move that light up so that you can get a bit, that's a bit sort of too much. Right, here we go. Up here, there, got that one there. Here on the olive oil thing, there are quite a lot of lights actually, so you just put them in where you see them. One in there. There's some blue ones actually. I'm going to put a bit more blue in that. Where else do I see it in there? Put that there like that. In here, there's a cold one down there. Cold one across the top of here. A glass, you know, that has a lot of turns in it, you know, a lot of shape to it. There are lots and lots of points of light that you can put in. I'm going to tighten this up here for a second. And then put the cool highlights in here. And then there's the warm highlights. Warm highlights, I need a bit more white. Stretch over again, get some white. Some white here. I'm going to make the really bright warm highlights by taking some white, putting it on a clean part of the palette, getting some yellow and some permanent rose. So that makes the whole thing warm. You don't really use white on its own. It's like black. You never use it on its own. You always put something into it. Otherwise it looks stark and unnatural. So change back before Joe has a go at me. I'm going to put some highlights in there. There. Now the paint is proud of the brush. There's more paint on the brush than the brush can hold. So you're not disturbing the paint onto which you're putting your stroke or your dab. And you just let it kind of go where it goes. Don't overwork it. Here's one here. And it's the highlights that make the thing look like what it's supposed to be. Dabs again. There's another one on the... I said don't overwork it. Kevin, don't overwork it. Put the thing on. That's it. There's another one here. Couple in there. Okay, there's some subtleties that I need to put in the glass up here. So there's a kind of a dark violet color coming down here, in fact, that I missed. Okay, that's worth having in. And it runs across here as well. We've got the red there. Put a bit more of that there. Push that up. So at the moment now, what I'm doing is just sort of like making good, like a builder would do. I'm putting in sort of finishing touches to get it to where I want it to be. You know, so it's my intention was to have a lot of this pink showing through, but we can sort of judiciously sort of make a few changes. It doesn't have to be sort of perfect. There's a couple of things here that I'd like to address. I need more reflections here. Really some kind of bright ones here. I'm just going to address that as well, because that needs to be lighter, or sorry, sculpted more. There. The idea in painting, especially at the blocking in stage, is to get as much done as you can in just terms of the tone and the color that you want something to be. And then you're only you're putting in details on top of that kind of good work that you did at the beginning. rather than going around the painting bit by bit, finishing each little bit. All the work is done in the kind of the general stuff at the beginning of the painting. Put a bit of yellow into that. Okay, what we're going to do there. All the rest then is sort of just shaping. You're not doing too much work at this stage. It's all sort of detail work, really. I don't want too many sharp lines in this. Okay. Now, I think I might restate some of this these shadows in here. I think they could be a little bit darker. A little bit. I'm just gonna down in here. See, we're not too far away from the shade that we want anyway, so it doesn't make a kind of an awful mess. If I suddenly wanted to change that foreground to an orange foreground, we turn it into mud, and it's just that's what you've got to watch out for. Subtle changes are okay. You can go on for the rest of the day doing subtle changes. Yeah, I think it looks better with the darker shadows. See, there's light coming in through there. It's going through the glass and it's coming out here, and this is the shadow of the actual glass. Maybe just a little touch on those flowers again. Here. Just little sort of dabs. And you can let your brush strokes show as well. I think it's a nice thing in a painting, not to smooth everything down. Smoothing sort of causes a lot of problems, I think, in paintings. And don't have hard edges all the time. You can have that lost and found edge. So you just kind of move the thing around a bit so that you're not looking for straight lines, really. Tickle those into submission. Okay. And that is my study. See that down there? I like it, so I'm leaving it. And that's just, that's what you call a happy accident. Let me see, just, there's a bit of a green that needs to come into here. That's it. I'm just going to shape that around a bit. The one thing I'd like to put in just before I finish is that there's a lovely light green. It's going to make blue, white, and it's kind of a highlight, really. Blue, white, and yellow. It's just down here. And that really helps a lot, actually. And it's here as well. Yeah. That was kind of like an hour and 15 minutes. We should do, all right, okay, here we go. You can see some of the, how close you get with this, can't you? So some of that, if I can put it that way. Okay.
Great.
That's it.
It's very good.
Thank you.
So, I mean, that's it. If you can do something like that every day, you know, it would, you would get going very, very, very quickly. It doesn't have to be quite as complicated as that, but I think that if you follow the kind of the course of events that I usually do, which is a kind of a single object like a lemon or an apple or something like that, then sort of glass, then silver, then a white object, even white on white, very helpful, then a landscape, and you know, then if you keep on doing that cycle of paintings, keep it simple and keep it small, you'll take off. And you'll even sort of accept your shortcomings, because I can guarantee you will. Everyone has them. I have. I told you about one of them, which is not being able to sort of paint a kind of line that goes directly up. Maybe I need to get my glasses fixed. I think I always did that. But so it's a kind of a weirdness. Everyone has their quirks, and you can work them into your style. And you never tell people what you think is wrong with your painting. Don't do it. You know, it's like anything, isn't it? You teach people how to view you, and it's the same thing with the paintings.